Good morning, honorable members. Good morning to the members of SALGA that are here and to the members
Recording
of
in
the
progress.
in Traditional Affairs. It is now 8 o'clock. We are scheduled to start this meeting, and I'd like to begin it on time because we have profound time pressures today, given the fact that the Standing Committee on Finance is also considering its report. And so I want to appreciate members and I want to appreciate both the ministries and local government for effectively being able to present time and be available to come and present to us earlier on in the morning. I want to also, in that light, I have not received any apologies at this stage in as far as minutes are in terms of our own minutes. Are there any apologies to these meetings that need to be tabled here at the beginning?
Good morning, Chairperson, honorable members and guests. We received apologies from Mr. Kwankwa, Mr. Leganyane, and we also received apologies from both the Minister and Deputy Minister for CoGTA. Thank you.
Darren, just for functions of checking, I thought they were going to be represented equally so by the Deputy Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs. And if I'm not mistaken, I thought I might see the Deputy Minister on here. Am I mistaken in this regard?
Morning,
Chairperson. Oh, okay.
No, I am online, Honorable Chairperson, and a very good morning to you and all members of the committee.
Thank you so much, Deputy Minister, and Honorable Masemola, Minister Masemola is on here. And so when the time comes, we'll then take it from there. I appreciate you joining us, Deputy Minister. I see there's a hand in there. I must apologize, honorable members. We've got, I'll only recognize your device. So if it is not put forward properly or in any way, I will just refer to it. I see Ipasha is on there. Will you, you've got your hand raised. I recognize it.
Good morning, Chair, and good morning to the members of the committee. My name is Lerato Pasha. I just wanted to register an apology from our NEC member who's the chair of the Municipal Finance Committee working group in SALGA. Unfortunately, due to commitments and the changing of the time, he's unable to attend, but I'm here to present on behalf of SALGA. Thank you.
Much appreciated, Mepasha, I appreciate that. With those apologies noted, we on the agenda this morning, we've got a presentation by SALGA, a presentation by CoGTA, and then we will go into deliberations and then hopefully have a closure of the meeting in that regard. There are no other items on this, and it is focused exclusively and deliberately on deliberations on the Division of Revenue Bill. So yes, there may be other issues that pertain to local government, but in this instance, I'm going to try and limit our inputs to the Division of Revenue Bill because this engagement serves formally as part of SALGA's submission and that of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs submission into the Division of Revenue Bill. And having looked at both presentations, certainly welcome the inputs and believe that they are best suited to be narrowly defined on that score. So in the light of that, may I ask if there are no other items on the agenda, is there any member who want to move for the adoption of the agenda? Members, you would. Yes, if please indicate who's speaking. Oh, Honorable Bateman, or is it Honorable Bateman?
Morning, Chair. Sorry, it's Honorable Wakelin here. I moved for the agenda.
Thank you very much, Honorable Wakelin. And then is that Honorable Bateman seconding there?
That's right. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much. The agenda therefore being adopted, I think that we can then proceed likewise. Let me begin with, is it Lerato Pasha? if you can then proceed with the presentation, may I ask, I think I lost count as to how many slides you have, and there are some very, very significant issues that you are delving into. If we are going to achieve what we need to achieve, I may very well request that if you could give us a half an hour presentation, and then what we can then do is then go with a perspective of saying, how do we respond accordingly in this regard, so that when the Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs Ministry presents, they will have the same time so that we can proceed from there. And then members will then take deliberations collectively. Deputy Minister, I see your hand is up. May I take your input at this point?
Sorry for interjecting your meeting, Honorable Chair, after you have started. I just wanted to register my apology in advance. At 10 o'clock, we have a National Executive Committee meeting, and I'm going to have to disconnect around 9:30. So I thought I would participate between now and just immediately before that meeting. Then I'll be able to be offline so that I can take that other responsibility. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
I appreciate that, Dr. Masemola. I certainly note that apology. And what we want to try and achieve is that we take presentation in half an hour bouts. So SALGA will present for half an hour, and then the ministry will present for half an hour. That way, by the time the minister has to attend to the NEC, we will then at that point be able to have entered into deliberations. And so if the broader responses that pertain to the minister, you can go first, and then ultimately we can then proceed with the rest of the program. It's part of the reason why we had to move the meeting earlier, is cognizant of not only the NEC, but also the fact that we've got finance meetings then sitting at the same time. So it is well understood and well appreciated, Deputy Minister. Honorable members, as I had said, members have got the slides, members have read them, and more than that, may I ask that we don't need to make it an opportunity to read, but an opportunity for you to share more information that may not be self-evident in the slides, and perhaps as a broader explanation. Mr. Arendse?
Chairperson, yes, my apologies for this. Chair, we also received an apology from the DG for Department of Traditional Affairs. Yes.
Of CoGTA, yes, it was noted earlier on, because they were meant to present, but thank you so much. If we've received that apology, it will be noted and recorded as such. Can I ask members that we proceed to this first bit? We've adopted the agenda. The meeting is now open. Mr. Bateman, is there anything urgent? I want to really move now.
Yes, thank you, Honourable Chair. Sorry to interrupt. I just want to ask, when was the SALGA presentation circulated, please?
Chairperson?
Yes.
Yes, I received the presentation after 6 this morning, and I circulated it just before the meeting started. So I've just resent the link to everybody, and I included Salga's presentation as well.
So Chair, if I may?
Yes.
That obviously doesn't provide us as a committee with time to prepare for the presentation and to know what's going to be presented, and to come prepared and equipped. And it doesn't seem like a very efficient use of anyone's time if it's only circulated 2 hours before the meeting. And so I'm coming to this without having been able to read or prepare for that. So yeah, that's just point that out.
Honourable Bateman, I share your sentiment in this regard, but I'm conscious of the fact that we try and uphold a 3-day rule in terms of circulation of documents. And I note your comments and your inputs, and certainly will reflect that back to SALGA that we needed to get these presentations far earlier than what they are. But I would like to request that even within that context, that we need to proceed because the presentation is before us, members have it, and then we can go from there. And perhaps as the presenters go through it, we can then engage on some of the issues. And if there are further questions, there's nothing stopping us as a committee from requesting further inputs from SALGA in this regard. But your comments are noted, and it's a sentiment that we've always maintained that documents must be circulated 3 days before. Honorable Galega Mazibuko, I just happen to know that Nongeba Mulwelwe is an old name, so I will then go with your updated name. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I have requested Darren to rename my gadget because I'm unable to rename on my side. I don't know why did it default to my old surname. Chair, I would therefore request that, unlike what you have requested, that the presentations should be sort of a summary and the presenters should gallop through. I would request that SALGA one be detailed presentation because, as my colleague has said, we have not had time to go through this presentation. So if they could just present in detail, unlike galloping as you have requested at the beginning of your opening. Thank you.
I hear you, Honorable Galega Mazibuko. Again, if you were to look at the amount of slides that SALGA have to present, it is really an inordinate amount of slides. And therefore, whilst I take the sentiment, I think SALGA will note the inputs by members that they have not received the documents timeously, which is well and truly, and I want to register the displeasure of the committee for the lateness of the submission. I'm also very clear in the light of all of this that if we were to sit slide by slide in great detail, this meeting is only scheduled to finish at 11 because we are unlikely to get through everything that we need to get through. So I think we need to find a balance between those two things, both cognizant of our displeasure and our noted displeasure as a committee for receiving the documents late, but also the time constraints that we are under. Otherwise, we are going to lose members and quorum before the 10 o'clock deadline on both finance and the NEC. So with that in mind, we have now, it's 18:13, to the honorable member from SALGA. If you can present, you will have half an hour. And I think that should suffice to get through much of the information that you have before us. Over to you. Thank you very much.
Good morning again, Chair, and the members. I think first you would like to apologize for the late submission of the documents. We had a few challenges, but my chairperson has joined the meeting. Maybe if you can allow him first, and then I'll do as the honorable members have requested in terms of not really dwelling much into the slides, but just highlighting, especially emphasizing the important slides of our presentation. Thank you, Chair. Councillor Dikgale is in the meeting.
Yeah, no, thank you very much, Chair of the committee. We indeed want to take this opportunity to greet yourself, greet the committee, and be able to indicate as such that we apologize for the earlier inconvenience. And we will then go through Lerato, give key issues, but still adhere to the time that you are going to be doing. And from SALGA's perspective, looking into the current financial situation of local government, Chair, we'll be able to request, particularly yourself, because of the kind of authority and influence that the committee has, look particularly as we are dealing with this review of local government white paper, at ensuring that our municipalities, in particular your rural municipalities, where we know that there is more challenges, we should look at how can we have a differentiated approach in terms of their financing looking into the fact that historically, the issue of revenue there is not as much as it's supposed to be, particularly because we don't have what we call property rates, and most importantly, they don't generate any income from electricity because it is distributed by ESCOM. So we are pleading with this committee to then say, how do we deal with municipalities with that kind of historical perspective, looking at the kind of influence and leadership that we can provide in this regard. So that is one point that we wanted to raise as we will be dealing with the general outlook of the budget. Thank you very much. I will allow then Lerato to gallop through our presentation. Over to you, Lerato.
Thank you, Chair. Our presentation will outline what is stated on the presentation there, honorable members. This is just to present what SALGA's comments are in terms of the DORA. I'm not going to go through the legislative framework, but I think on the mandate, we just want to highlight that as a member body, we don't have executive authority over municipality. However, we use our influence in terms of ensuring that these mandates are done on behalf of municipalities. In terms of the economic outlook, Chair, we just had to look at, since the G20 will be hosted in South Africa, we wanted to highlight the performance in terms of economic growth between the G20 countries and the BRICS countries and South Africa, as we are a member. As you can see, Chair, that we are really performing lower than the G20s. However, we are urging government to learn best practices in terms of the micro and the macro economic growth strategies from both BRICS and G20, so that we can start elevating and growing the economy to where it needs to be. We also want to caution government in terms of paying attention to international relation issues that may have an impact to the fiscal strategy of the country, as we have seen with the relationship that really has soured a bit between ourselves and the US government. Chair, in terms of the medium-term economic strategy, government said they want to maintain the macroeconomic stability. However, we are concerned that this macroeconomic policy, although it was reviewed and it was seen as fit for purpose, we have observed that the economy has been growing at 1.3% over the past 3 years, and we don't understand that if this policy is fit for purpose, how is it not yielding the results or the intended purpose in terms of economic growth? Chair, we also welcome the Metro Trading Services reforms that National Treasury is bringing in. However, we would like to request that timeframes needs to be put in place, and also the program needs to be expanded to non-metro municipalities, and proper consultation needs to be considered as they will be rolling out these reforms, Chair. As SALGA, we welcome the capacity building supported for digital transformation. We have a digital cluster within SALGA, where we have done a maturity assessment of municipalities in terms of capability and their uptake in terms of digital transformation. We would like that government also work together with SALGA in terms of what is the work that has already been done and how those municipalities can be assisted. Chair, we have identified in our study, and I think we presented in the last MTDPS presentation that we've made in November, that our study showed that 122 billion basic services gap is there. However, we have seen in the DORA that National Treasury only allocated 61.6 billion in direct and indirect infrastructure grant. Chair, as government is gearing towards infrastructure investment, we don't think this is enough. However, we believe that the area that needs more support is capacity building in project preparation and enabling triple P regulations, so that municipalities are now able to identify bankable projects and also attract the desired investment, because we know that the fiscus is constrained and grants are no longer the alternative. Chair, we have seen into economic drivers that the country needs to look into human capital investment, technological innovations, and natural resources and government policies, and trade and globalization in terms of how we can grow this economy. Chair, I'm just going to focus on what SALGA is doing within these areas. We are focusing into, we have capacity and continue to capacitate municipalities in terms of consequence management and anti-corruption. Chair, in this regard, we received comments from the committee in terms of how can we assist municipalities in terms of accountability, especially for municipalities that are mismanaging their funds. We are taking the consequence and accountability framework and helping municipalities to customize them into their environment, so that council can adopt those policies and implementation can happen. We are also assisting municipalities to be able to prepare financial statements internally, Chair, so as to reduce reliance on consultants, and also in the area of asset management and funded budgets, and training for our councillors in council oversight related trainings. Chair, in terms of capital investment, we have trained 10 municipalities with project preparation. That is the one that we have partnered with UCT. It's an accredited program where municipalities will be able, we are hoping that they will improve in the area of project preparation. We have also embarked in terms of project finance readiness assessment. Our pilot has started with Knysna municipalities, and we did actually in the past week had engagement with them in terms of the 3 projects that they had identified as strategic projects that will touch on climate change and also resolving the issues of water and sanitation. We also did 23 municipalities in terms of creditworthiness assessment. This is to help municipalities to identify where they are in terms of what banks and DFIs are looking at in terms of creditworthiness, and helping those municipalities to upgrade to a level where it is acceptable. In terms of technological innovation, Chair, the digital maturity I've already spoken about, but the important one is the pulse check, where we have an indigent and conflict of interest tool that assists municipalities to verify and have credible indigent registers, and also addressing the issue of reducing irregular expenditure in terms of identifying conflict of interest before municipalities submit their financial statement. In terms of government policies, Chair, we've been advocating for the review of the local government fiscal framework, EDI reforms, and we've also been appointed as the Just Energy Transition Secretariat, and also been lobbying on the issues of grant review. Chair, in terms of the trade and globalization, we've got a number of programs that helps municipalities with funding opportunities, both for domestic and international funding, and we're facilitating the institutionalization of the township economy, and also helping municipalities with regional economic development partnerships, identifying private partnerships that can help municipalities to unlock the local economic development. Chair, in terms of the fiscal strategy, we have observed that the infrastructure investment that has been made in the DORA is prioritizing nationally driven projects for water and electricity and roads. And we have seen that national departments are also guilty of not spending 100% of their grants, Chair. Where we've seen in the past that 2.5 billion in the 2025-2024 and 171 million indirect grants were reduced from the DORA. Chair, we welcome the coordinating of state participation in the project preparation, which we want to be part of because we've already started in this program with the training. We also welcome the streamlining and the reduction of the approval requirements projects below 2 billion for the PPP. However, we are concerned that there may be other requirements that the regulations might come in that are not stated, which municipalities may not be able to meet. In terms of the BFI, Chair, we are concerned that this process, the application process, has been tedious in the past, and we are afraid that it might discourage the municipalities with the uptake. However, we do encourage municipalities to take up the current window that has been opened, Chair. We are also welcoming the performance-based conditional grants. However, it should be inclusive of all municipalities that are performing well and are spending most of their 100% of their grants. It should be opened up and not only be limited to metros, Chair. In terms of the fiscal allocation, it remains the same, Chair, and I'm not going to dwell much into it. However, we are disappointed because in the SONA, the President announced that the fiscal framework will be reviewed. However, in the MTEF fiscal strategy, they make no mention of it, honorable members. We have seen that the microeconomic policy, the economic growth, and the current vertical allocation continues to remain the same. And this, we believe that it will still have impact on the socio-economic impacts and continue to increase, and basic services will continue to deteriorate, Chair. Our study has shown that there is fiscal underfunding, inefficiencies, and underfunded mandates, and it's a challenge across all the categories of municipalities. This block, Chair, is just to show that even municipalities that are performing have clean audit outcomes, have financial strain in terms of, and we have taken this out of the state of local government finance that National Treasury have produced. Where it is shown, we just did a sample of 6 municipalities where it shows that those municipalities have clean audit outcomes, but however, they are under financial distress and some of them are underfunded, honorable members. We have seen, and I think I'm not going to dwell much into it because we have presented last year that the revenues of municipalities can only cover 60% and not the 90%. And according to the requirements, 19.8% is supposed to come from property rates billing, and also 61.4% is supposed to come from trading services, which the reforms seeks to address, Chair. We at SALGA, we have noted that National Treasury continues to use the LGES numbers and not the census 2022 numbers in terms of poor households, and we reject this outdated data because some of our municipalities, particularly in the Western Cape and in Gauteng and metros, have indicated that they have higher and poor household numbers that are not catered for in the equitable share, Chair. In terms of the conditional grants, Chair, we have observed that between the direct and the indirect grants, the direct grants have only grew by 2% for the 2024-2026 period, which is way less than CPI, and it's not aligning with government strategy for more investment in infrastructure. we have seen that the indirect grants were either used to be repurposed or rechanneled for other government grants in terms of the growth thereof. However, they've been growing at a much higher rate than the direct grants. And this is where we have an issue, Chair, that we have seen government moving towards more indirect grant rather than direct grants. I'm not going to go too much into the issue, but just to say underinvestment in basic services and inadequate allocation to repairs and maintenance, which is a mandate of municipality, but due to this constrained revenues, they are unable to allocate sufficiently to repairs and maintenance. And this threatens the livelihoods of the citizens and also economic development, as we have been speaking to the private sector within municipalities, where they have highlighted their dissatisfaction in the level of the basic services. Chair, this is just, I'm going to skip through it. It's just to show between national government and municipalities what are the major costs drivers in those municipalities. So in terms of the support, as I said, we've got digitization and ICT capacity building, support and advice. But I think in the area of water and sanitation, where we have seen non-compliance with their water treatment networks, we have a support where we are analyzing and assessing and helping municipalities who are Water Services Authority to develop municipal priority action plans. And we are also helping municipalities in terms of their blue drop assessment to ensure compliance and monitoring the non-compliance thereof. And we have done a district municipal 5-year reliability plans for those municipalities, Chair. In the EDI, we've been very fundamental in the conversation of the EDI. Yesterday at the Portfolio Committee of Energy, we actually recommended that the committee support the EDI reforms, as we know that it will also help municipalities in some instance. Financial sustainability, I presented this last year, but I think our main focus now will be on the financial sustainability and viability in the long term to help municipality look beyond the 5-year MTEF budgeting period. In terms of LED, we support municipalities with small town regeneration plans and how to regenerate and rejuvenate local development in those areas. And we are also, helping municipalities with business climate improvement so that they are investment ready, Chair. And also helping municipalities with research, economic research, and knowledge sharing in the areas where they need. In terms of wastewater, we have helped municipalities with hands-on support in terms of authority functions by looking into their bylaws and making sure that they are relevant. We contributed towards making sure that MIG, IUDG, and USDG be used to help municipalities to procure specialized waste management vehicles, and we have been successful thus far, Chair. In terms of the recommendation, we urge government to learn best practices, particularly on the micro and the macroeconomic strategies from the G20 and BRICS, and leverage its membership so that we are able to benefit from our membership with those countries. Chair, as I said, we are recommending that the structural reforms in terms of trading services be expanded to non-metros and proper consultation be done, and priority should be given to municipalities that are performing and spending on their grants. We are also raising to the honorable committee to raise the agency of underfunding, as this issue, Chair, National Treasury has not really taken it with the agency that it needs. We reject the use of the outdated data in terms of allocations of poor households for equitable share. And we still call, Chair, and we believe that through intergovernmental collaboration, streamlining and enabling policies and impactful differentiated support, particularly in terms of addressing the inefficiencies across all the three spheres of government, we may make savings, and those savings can be budget savings that can be allocated towards the infrastructure investment drive that we need. Thank you, Chair.
No, Honorable Pasha, thank you so much for your presentation. Much welcomed, and I know you had to race through that, which we appreciate. I will allow then for the Honorable Wakeling. I would want to take both presentations at the same time so that we have longer time for deliberation. Is there a point of urgency?
No, that's fine, Chair. I don't want us to convolute the two matters because SALGA to me is a very much important matter to discuss this morning. But it's fine.
There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, sorry, Chair, let me just finish. As long as they're going to answer all the questions, that is my concern, because we found too often now that when we submit questions that are not answered. So I'll let it go for now, Chair. But can I please request that the questions are answered today?
Of course, that is the whole point of why we're trying to allow enough time for deliberation. So let me allow for SALGA to then, for CoGTA to then present. Deputy Minister, I'll hand over to you, and then you can intro the team, and then they can take us through the presentation. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson, for the opportunity for the department to make a presentation, and a very good morning once more to members of the portfolio committee, of the select committee. We are a team which administratively is led by the Director General, Mr. Changana, who will be the one to make a presentation before the committee. Of course, is supported by a team of Deputy Director Generals who will be in a better position when the time for discussions come. We can be able to have a much more focused and detailed, comprehensive responses to whatever question that will arise out of the presentation. With your permission, Chair, I will then ask the Director General to proceed and make a presentation before the committee.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. I hope I'm audible. Chairperson, I'm going to ask Dr. Naidu to lead us in making this presentation, but let me just briefly prefix his presentation by stating that there are certain recommendations that we would want expressed in the Division of Revenue Act, and one of them is a clear and explicit expression of Section 18 and Section 19 of the DORA, because it's creating problems for us. I think that discretion that is stated there in the Division of Revenue Act for National Treasury has to be done away with, because it can be that the transferring department, which is administering the grant and managing the performance of municipalities, is subjected to an arbitrary discretion that is done by National Treasury. If you read that clause, you'll notice that there is a problem there, the way the Division of Revenue Act, especially Clause 19 and Clause 18, Section 19 and Section 18. So that has to be changed. I think the wording and everything else has to be changed. And secondly, Chair, the municipal budgets are beginning to mirror exactly the national budget. The biggest budget item is the debt servicing item. So therefore, it means that we have to find a way to use the grants, the intergovernmental grants, to assist municipalities to achieve what they want to achieve. Municipal balance sheets are extremely under pressure. So we may need to introduce the concept of pledging of the grant or interception of the grant, which is used in quite a number of countries use the grant to leverage more funding from the capital markets. We can expatiate on that if there is time to do so. But let me ask Dr. Naidu to take us through the presentation without wasting time. Dr. Naidu, over to you.
Thank you very much, DG. Good morning, Honorable Chair, honorable members of the committee, the Honorable Deputy Minister, colleagues on the platform. Chair, I'm going to try and be as efficient as possible with the 75-slide presentation that we've produced. And the presentation, Chair, is based on the various components that we were requested to present on through a communication that we had received from the committee. Of course, there is a component that's missing here, which relates to the performance, the quarterly performance of the department. But I guess having regard to the opening comments of the Honorable Chair, that the discussion would be mostly focused around the Division of Revenue Act. So these are the issues that we will speak to in the presentation. And to start with the Division of Revenue Act, and what we've done here is to reference the local government equitable share, which is processed, administered through the department. But to start by saying that it is a constitutionally guaranteed transfer, unconditional, and a formula that is based taking into account fiscal capacity, efficiency, developmental and other needs of municipalities, but also using demographic and other data. The formula is thus, it is based on a basic services component, an institutional component, as well as the community services component, and a revenue adjustment factor. You will see in the next slide that the basic services component and the institutional component is made up of 81.4% or 76 billion rand, and the institutional component 6.9 billion rand and 7.4%, and the community services portion of it at 11.2%. The electricity cost estimate is made up of bulk and other costs. So too is the water cost estimate. We have indicated in this slide the breakdown per province in terms of transfers in relation to the equitable.
Yeah, are you there, Honorable Member?
He has disappeared.
We have lost the presenter, Mr. Naidu. I'm not sure.
Reference.
Mr. Naidu?
Yes, Chair.
We had lost you for some time. So may I ask that you begin at the top of the slide? We've probably lost about 30 seconds or a minute of what you were saying. So if you can resume from there, that'd be helpful.
Okay, I'm going to use my DG's device, Chair. It seems to be working much better than that which I am on, but I will be controlling the slides from my side, which I do not see. It is viewable? Yes, okay. So, Chair, this slide deals with the inputs or the responses in relation to the Division of Revenue Bill. And specifically, we indicate that in terms of the duties of the transferring officer, specifically in relation to Schedule 5 or 6 of the allocations in the bill, We believe that it must provide for engagement with the transferring officer when it comes to allocations that are stopped, withheld, or reallocated in respect of those specific grants. We believe that there must be an intergovernmental dialogue, and that the National Treasury should not have carte blanche when it comes to matters relating to this matter. Affected municipalities and provinces must be included in the process or in the discussion. We believe that perhaps a clearinghouse for this kind of discussion could be the local government MINEC that is convened by the minister and composed of MECs responsible for local government, but also SALGA and Treasury on invitation. The specific matter relating to preparations for the 26-27 financial year, we focused also on the intermediate cities. One would know that we have 39 such city municipalities, secondary cities, 10 of which are in the program, and 29 that we would want to see if they are interested in graduating into the IUDG, that they submit their submissions to the department for consideration by 31st of July. We were asked to also speak to the issue relating to resource mobilization. The following slides talk to that, and perhaps to say that, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members, the issue around metro trading services, something that has begun in earnest. The National Treasury is leading on that, supported by various stakeholders. We believe that the regulation of development charges could also be used in terms of a blending financing structure as a means of unlocking funding from the private sector, and then again also the repurposing of grants to focus on project operation and packaging. This slide deals with a recent happening quite in earnest, where we have begun to convert Schedule 5B of the DORA to Schedule 6B. And in the last financial year, we had initiated this process by undertaking support to struggling municipalities when it came to the refurbishment of water and wastewater infrastructure for enhanced service delivery. The conversion of these MIG allocations in two municipalities, namely Utukela and Mfuleni, commenced in the last financial year. And we're presently looking at an upfront conversion of 500 million rand from Schedule 5B to 6B in the next financial year. So basically to see how we can assist these struggling municipalities with the expenditure in relation to MIG. This slide references the 52 criminally charged municipalities by the Department of Water and Sanitation for matters relating to water and sanitation specifically.
Chair? Chair?
Oh, yes, Mr. Wakelin. Where's Honorable Wakelin?
I did raise my hand. You didn't see. There's a lot of disturbance at the presenter's table. We can hardly hear him. Can I please request that we can just get absolute silence so that he can present properly, please?
Noted. Mr. Naidu, can you address this particular question, please? We are really trying to work hard to hear you out. Is there anything that we can, yeah.
Our sincerest apologies for that, Honorable Chair. I've requested the colleagues to stop their shuffling. Please, Michael. Chair, so just in respect of the initiative around the conversion from 5B to 6B, this slide indicates where we are in that process, the various roles of the functionaries and the different programs in the branch. We were also asked to speak to matters relating to revenue improvement. This slide indicates the support that we provide in relation to trying to assist municipalities in this regard. The specific work that we do around the Municipal Systems Act, Municipal Property Rates Act, and how we assist municipalities in relation to valuation, as well as to rating, but also in relation to water and electricity tariff policies. There too, around indigent policies and the work that we're doing around indigent registers, but also trying to support municipalities when it comes to their credit control and debt collection policies. Some of this, Honorable Chair, is expatiated later on in the presentation. The next 2 or 3 slides deals with another initiative undertaken by the department and the ministry, and this is in relation to getting a handle or trying to see how we reverse the negative trend around the national government debt or debt owed to municipalities broadly. And in this regard, there is a national government debt forum, and that forum deals with matters or challenges relating to property ownership, state properties, investing and transfer delays, incorrect tariff charges being applied, and budget constraints. So to mirror that at the provinces, we have a provincial government debt forum that deals with similar matters. But suffice to say, Chair, that in a recent development is that the Minister of CoGTA has written to ministries, has written to provinces, and asked for them to settle their debt with municipalities. Thus far, we've had responses from those ministers that we have highlighted on the slide there, Department of Public Service and Administration. I'm not going to go through all of them. But generally, Chair, the matter raised in response to the request from the minister was that at the center of the billing is the issue of inaccurate reports that are being generated through the submissions that come from municipalities. For example, we've received a response from the Department of Public Service and Administration, who's got their offices in the city of Tshwane. But then the debt that is owed to them, as reflected in the Section 71 report that is generated, indicates that they have that they are owing for services generated by officers that they allegedly have in Soweto. Similarly, with the Department of Cooperative Governance as well, it has been indicated by municipalities outside of Tshwane that we owe them as a department money for services that are rendered out in those specific municipalities outside of Tshwane. The next slides deal with the ESCOM debt relief program, and honorable members would know that this is a program that is led largely by the National Treasury together with ESCOM. Suffice to say that yesterday we were before the Portfolio Committee on Energy and Electricity, where ourselves, National Treasury and SALGA spoke in depth to the matters relating to the ESCOM debt relief progress. These 11 municipalities flighted on this slide have successfully entered the program and doing well in terms of getting their debt written off. We also received the report yesterday that there were further 3 municipalities that have graduated to that level of doing well in terms of this program. One of the matters that came from the meeting was that perhaps if one has to publicize the success and the progress that has been obtained by these 14 municipalities, it would give impetus to other municipalities that have enrolled already, the 71, to also try and see how they comply as far as possible and get their debt written off in a gradual process. This slide just indicates the debt owed by the provinces as at the end of January. We'll go into that. The next slide talks to the 20 top defaulters in relation to Eskom debts. Slide here indicates some of the interventions as CoGTA we are making in the energy sector, issues relating to assisting municipalities with the development of wheeling frameworks. There's 20 odd municipalities that we have assisted in that regard. We're also assisting municipalities together with SALGA, together with MISA, in the development of cost of supply studies, an important component when it comes to the development of tariffs. The next slide deals with an overview of electricity and energy support that we provide to various municipalities. We reference some of the challenges that are being faced. The slide here indicates the support that we provide particularly to Limpopo municipalities, as well as to some of the municipalities in KwaZulu-Natal. What we found, Honorable Chair and members, is that there are common challenges across municipalities, such as the shortage of technical staff, the need for capacity building, budget constraints for maintenance, dilapidated infrastructure, no energy master plans in place, cost of supply studies being required. One would recall that recently there was a court challenge in relation to this matter, which affected the implementation of tariffs that were being instituted by some municipalities, and then also a need for demand-side management initiatives. This slide deals with the cost of supply studies, and you will see at the bottom there that these ongoing capacity training organized by SALGA, as well as Sustainable Energy Africa, in terms of how we would want to assist municipalities in this very important component in the determination of tariffs. This slide indicates further the support that we've been giving to municipalities around wheeling, cost of supply studies, and you would see on the right-hand side the summary of those municipalities or the work that we have provided in terms of those various key focus areas. Of course, the national electricity price.
Other than my boss time. Could the I think it's Mr. Matumela, can I request that please, we are trying to really get through this. If you could mute your device, please.
Honorable Chair, NICOM has various work streams, and we're providing dedicated support in relation to work stream 5, which deals with EDI reforms, advanced metering infrastructure, wheeling skills and capacity building. And I've indicated that we have indicated approximately 20 municipalities with their wheeling frameworks. This depicts some of the energy reforms that we are working on, some of the key considerations in that regard, which then takes us to the MIG, Integrated Urban Development Grant, some information on the Urban Settlements Development Grant, and some of the figures that relate to these grants. These slides reference, Honorable Chair, the performance of the MIG. This slide in particular, over 3 years, from 2021 to 2024, and you would see as at the end of the 23-24 financial year, that 41 municipalities, MIG receiving municipalities, have been regarded as perennial poor performing municipalities. This, however, is a reduction from the 55 in the previous financial year. Challenging areas, and perhaps the driving factor behind 5B to 6B is issues around procurement, poor planning which results in delays and poor expenditure performance, the lack of technical and contract management capacity, poor professional and contractor performance. Slide references the use of the MIG or the performance of the MIG per sector, and this is from the period 2019 up until 2024. The next slide deals with integrated urban development grant expenditure. This is as at the end of 28 February 2025. And earlier on, I indicated that we have 9 municipalities in the program. It has just been added a 10th, which is the Alfred Duma local municipality. And these municipalities need to meet a certain criteria before they can graduate from MIG into the IUDG. So this is the performance of the grant, perhaps one of the better performing grants that we have across the spectrum of grants. And you would see that allocations given to them are mostly close to 100%. This slide indicates performance of that grant from 2020 to 2021. And then this slide also references expenditure for the MIG, the IUDG, the USDG, as at the end of December last year. Honorable Chair, the next 2 slides deals with a summary of challenges and interventions in the areas of water and sanitation, electricity, waste management, disaster risk reduction, etc. I'm not going to go through them. We've also indicated what the challenges are and what some of the interventions we as CoGTA are putting in place. For example, around improving disaster resilience, we believe that through building resilient infrastructure and developing comprehensive disaster plans could mitigate the risk that we have there, but also the issue, the human factor, resourcing and capacity building could also be an intervention that could assist us there. In relation to the state of infrastructure and the support we get from the municipal support agent, infrastructure support agent, we work closely with MISA to see how best we're able to intervene in the area of infrastructure support management. These slides then reference the service delivery interventions that we have put in place, most notably by MISA in the main. MISA supporting municipalities on service delivery is referenced in the slide, where 25 municipalities have been provided with technical capacity and skills development. 22 dysfunctional municipalities are being supported with SPLUMA compliance plans, and then some of the MIG receiving municipalities being assisted with increasing access to basic services on water, roads, solid waste, and sanitation. So we've spoken or have presented quite a bit on the MIG 5B to 6B conversion. These are the municipalities where we intend intervening in respect of that conversion and assisting them with the expenditure of the MIG. Earlier on, we indicated that in the last financial year, we identified Utukela and Mpuleni as the municipalities where we are piloting the MIG 6B intervention. This slide gives us the details in relation to what exactly lives in the support that we are providing in those 2 specific municipalities. So this slide indicates the detail or the key factors or drivers behind the conversion from 5B to 6B. I'm not going to go into it. Then followed by this slide, which deals with the blue drop, green drop, no drop reports that we get from the Department of Water and Sanitation. The next component, Honourable Chair and Honourable Members, is the review of the white paper on local government that the department has initiated. Perhaps to say that this review was initiated in earnest towards the last quarter of 2024. And we have made significant progress in relation to where we are with that review, and perhaps a little bit more about that just in a bit. But we are mindful of the various other initiatives that were undertaken in this regard. But more recently, in September 2022, there was a presidential local government summit that resolved that we need to have a deep dive on local governments. We have as a standing structure between ourselves and SALGA, a JEXCO, a joint executive committee at a technical level, but also at a political level, but also being guided by the GISCT cluster presentation or guidance that we received from the GISCT cluster, which has now brought us to the point where we are initiating that in September of last year. So the next slide on this specific area, Chair, we've been to various fora. We have more recently been to the President's Coordinating Council, where we presented this letter, and we will now be entering the various clusters to present, to get guidance and inputs from these various fora. We will be publishing a discussion document that we've generated already for public comment in the next weeks, and we will then commission research to see how we would want to focus on the various areas that would find itself in the review. This slide references the various pieces of legislation that we have. The Demarcation Authority Bill, which is in Parliament already. The Intergovernmental Monitoring Support and Interventions Bill, which deals with Section 100 and 139 of the Constitution, we believe will be tabled or introduced into Parliament very shortly. We have been working on a bill dealing with coalitions, but also a bill making changes to the Intergovernmental Relations Framework Amendment Bill. In relation to the interventions we've introduced to deal with the reduction of unauthorized, irregular, fruitless, and wasteful expenditure, we've indicated the work that we do around that, starting with the legislative amendments that we had introduced in 2021, but also a national forum where we get provinces reporting to the department, to National Treasury, to the AG in relation to interventions and progress made around reducing this. The last component, Chair, deals with the establishment of an interministerial committee on municipal performance turnaround. And this is part of the other that the committee had asked us to speak to. Safe to say that this committee was established post the release of the audit outcomes by the AG during August of last year. The slide references the different opinions that were released, what informed some of the challenges around the poor audit outcomes, and where we are in terms of or how we have gotten to deal with the resolution of some of the challenges and problems that confront us. So the focus and that which you see here, Chair, are matters that were settled between the department or CoGTA and National Treasury in discussions between the two principals, and that we should focus on the debt issues, on funding review, as well as how we deal with capability in local government through capacity building, etc. So as the IMC on the municipal performance turnaround, we've identified 10 municipalities that we would want to focus on in the short term and to see how we would want to fix things there. The successes that we would gain from there, we would want to see how we multiply and export that to other poor performing municipalities across the country. These slides reference those municipalities. Some of the key challenges that are prevalent in those municipalities. Suffice to say, Chair, that we have been engaging with each one of these municipalities to see how we arrest the problems there. This slide references the focus areas, and then finally, Chair, how we see the impetus, the municipal performance turnaround strategy, dealing with the matter relating to water and sanitation. Chair, that would be the presentation, and we ask for the committee to note the content of the presentation as we would want to enter into the phase of discussion. Thank you very much, and I hand over to the Director General.
Thank you very much for the presentation. I'd hope that part of the recommendation would be the request for more funding in use of the Money Bills Act, but it seems like CoGTA has got a sufficient budget, so we'll move swiftly along then and allow members to take questions. It is now 9:10, so I think we should have an hour deliberation. Honorable Waitlin, if you can please raise your hand, Honorable Member. I'm doing my best in this tech universe. Honorable Mkonto. Let's take it firstly in that order. Let me start, and then Honorable Galagama Zibugo, I recognize. So let me start with Honorable Waitlin and then move to Honorable Mkonto.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair. First and foremost, welcome to the Deputy Honourable Minister. Welcome here to the DDG, as well as Chairperson of the SALGA. I'm happy to see them here. Chair, let me first start off by just raise one or two matters. The first matter that I'm really concerned about, it was absolutely a frustration listening to Mr. Naidu with all the background noises, right up to the end, or even after we asked him to reduce the background noises. We can hardly hear what he said. There was so much background noises. So anyway, but we got the gist of the submission, and I would please just have a bit of leniency towards us sitting here and listening to them. The second matter, I would like to just put on place on record, particularly to the Honourable Deputy Minister. We want to see local government succeed. We are not here to lash them. We are here to make sure, because the bread and butter issues of all our citizens and voters is right down to local government. We as a committee are very supportive of CoGTA. However, there's a large number of issues that we need to raise this morning to ensure that they know where they stand with us. So, Chair, I will start with SALGA, and let me just give you a bit of background. And I'm not sure if you're aware, Chair, but I had to go do a bit of research. And I want to start off by saying fundamentally, I'm questioning the role of SALGA as an association and the impact it has on local government as a whole. And I'll do it by way of explaining just one aspect of that. SALGA's revenue in 2023-24 was over 840 million, of which 758 million was from members' fee, which is a local government, which is a government institution. So over 80%, almost 80% of that is a members' fees. My concern lies in that when I looked at the financial statements, 500 million of that is spent on programs. And that's exactly my bone of contention. 500 million is spent on programs, and we don't see the impact of that in local government. And that is where my bone of contention is. And I would like them to explain to me what type of programs are they investing in, and have they had an impact measurement tool to show that it actually has an impact? Because we can clearly see by the AG reports, there's no impact. So if I can just maybe explain that just as a fundamental issue for me. Further to SALGA, and by way of another example, if you look at the state of the local government, there's no improvement from 2021 up to 2024 as far as the AG reports are concerned. And that in its whole is a concern for me, and that's a question I'm posing to both CoGTA and SALGA. What are you going to do about that? Because since 2021, there was no difference whatsoever, and I've looked at the percentages that was presented previously. They raised the matter where they said they would like to see a change in the fiscal framework strategy to both the department and the association. What type of changes would you like to see? Because you're not clear. You don't tell us what changes you would like to see. And to your point, is it more money? What changes? And it speaks directly to the white paper matter. I'm concerned about the length it takes to get to this point. Now we got some idea, a momentum in the white paper that should have been fixed already before. To the Deputy Minister and his department, there's some non-submission of financial reports. What intervention have you done this far? And I saw some of the performance submission they've said they've done, but I'm more concerned about the consequence management part thereof. Can we have a presentation just on the consequence management? What have SALGA, the department has done as far as consequence management, especially the top echelons with city managers and municipal managers? So according to AG report, over 50% of the municipalities show signs of financial distress, with widespread unauthorized, wasteful and fruitless expenditure. My concern lies yet again on that, the lack of consequence management by municipalities, and how does the CoGTA minister want to address that? I am not certain that the performance management strategy they want to implement will have the result. We need to see some heads roll as far as that is concerned. I come from a very strong municipal background for many years, and I can tell you that it is very difficult to get somebody fired, and I would like to know what is the minister going to do about that. That brings to my second question to the minister and his department. The Section 139 implementation to try to impact on this municipalities. My concerns lies with political interference, especially on provincial level, and trying to utilize this as a political tool to lash some of the municipalities and metros. And is the minister going to check that? What is he going to do about that? And how are we going to deal with that? The second portion to that, and we saw that the utilization of unqualified persons to administer these municipalities when they're in administration. How do we check these people they're using and ensure that we actually got the right people on board and people driving the bus are competent enough to do that? I'm concerned about the amount of direct and indirect funds that are returned because of non-performance, and what is the minister going to do about that? My bigger concern lies, particularly with municipalities, is around the revenue collection and the debt write-offs that is happening massively now at the moment, especially this time of the year, going towards June. We see massive debt write-offs and the lack of revenue collection on both the minister as well as SALGA. What are you doing from your side? And what interventions are we going to do to assist with this? Chair, my big concern as well is with regards to the use of consultants and the cost thereof. There's a massive budget allocation for consultants, and more and more, and I've seen it even on the low levels, that we are actually using technical staff as consultants to do work that the municipalities cannot do. I'm very concerned about the large number of work, basic, and I'm talking about fundamental basic issues, electricity repairs, water pipeline repairs, all done by external providers as opposed to having capacity in utilizing our own staff to do that type of work. And then to the Minister, have you dealt with your provincial counterparts with regards to the unfunded mandates and the duplication of services that puts a lot of pressure onto municipalities to perform on behalf of the provinces a lot of work that I don't have any funding for? And what does he have a plan? Do we know what is the figures? Because what we as a committee was looking for is the number, rands-wise, which is unfunded mandates that are currently utilized by local government on behalf of provinces without getting paid for that. There was in a presentation a suggestion made that the quality of water is not where it's supposed to be, and yes, I agree. However, when you have water losses in Joburg on over 50% and in Tshwane over 30% because of lack of maintenance, how do you go and then blame Rand Water for that? My question is, what intervention plans are you going to put in place with regards to especially water leakages and pipe leakages in both Tshwane and in Joburg, and particularly all the big metros, because that's where the massive leakages are, because it is a scarce resource. Chair, I think I'm going to stop there. I've got other questions, but I'm going to give my colleagues opportunity to raise their issues as well. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Wakelin. Honorable Mkhonto.
Thanks, Chair. Chair, good morning to you, honorable members, the Deputy Minister, the SALGA chairperson, and all the colleagues and our guests in the meeting. Chair, I am happy that the Deputy Minister is here representing the National Department. Chair, I don't get a sense of the National Department holding provincial departments accountable. It's all about underperforming municipalities, how they should be assisted, and so forth. I feel, Chair, that there is a big brother syndrome here, where nothing is being said by underperforming provincial departments. I wonder if the AG can agree to what has been presented here today. And we want to know which are those departments. Because if the Deputy Minister is saying there must be more funds that are given to the departments because they are the ones that are presiding over the municipalities, they must be given funds to do what? Because municipalities are at the coalface of service delivery. And they are the ones that are closely monitored in as far as performance and service delivery is concerned. No one is telling us how are these departments performing, and what is the nature of a support that can be given to them. Does that say that all is well and good in the provincial departments? That is my question. Chair, SALGA presented here that there is a infrastructure a grant that is allocated. Instead of the expected 122 billion, only 61.6 billion is allocated for infrastructure to municipalities, if I understood them well. And then my question is, where is the revenue collected by municipalities to close that gap? What are municipalities having to supplement what has been allocated to them in the division of revenue? There are a lot of trainings that has been done by SALGA, according to the presentation. Chair, is there any return on investment on these trainings, what improvement have they brought to the municipalities? Can SALGA tell us as to exactly, is there any improvement after these trainings, by telling us exactly which municipalities were being trained and what has been the improvement in as far as their performance is concerned? They also, Chair, talked about the national and provincial departments not spending their indirect grants, meaning that those grants were supposed, they are indirect in as far as municipalities are concerned. But can we then, Chair, that is always my complaint, that, or my view, that we are having weak departments, CoGTA departments, that have to preside over performing municipalities, and that is a challenge. I think that the DM will take that into very serious consideration, because it's municipalities that are facing the anger of people on the ground, but we are having national and provincial departments that are not spending yet. They are here pleading for more allocation to do what?
Honorable Mkhondo, I know that you've got a number of questions to the DM. As you recall, the apology earlier on from the Deputy Minister said that he needs to leave at 9:30. May I request that if you could put your questions to him, I will give you a chance post the minister's response, because I wouldn't want the minister to leave without answering your questions. So if I can prevail upon you, if you've done the questions to the minister, considering the first one, I will give the same proviso to Honorable Douglas, just specifically for the DM, and then we'll go back again to the rest of the questions. Is that okay with you, Honorable Mkhondo?
It's okay, Chair.
Honorable Gallagher Mazibuko, have you got a question for the Deputy Minister?
Hey, maybe the two questions I want to pose to SALGA and CoGTA, maybe the Deputy Minister would be able to respond to. My first one, Chair, over and above the other that I will ask later. My first one is the municipalities that are unable to honor the process of the ESCOM debt relief. What is the department doing, especially at a political level, Deputy Minister? What is it that you are doing? Because that is actually a problem. There's a debt relief program, and municipalities are required to follow the processes and the requirements, and a number of municipalities are failing to meet this. The second one, Chair, would be on inaccurate reporting. It does not assist us to receive a report that says that there is inaccurate reporting from the municipalities and there's no intervention in place, there's no consequence management. So it doesn't help. So I want to know, what is the consequence management, and what is it that the leadership in the department is doing to make sure that the municipalities do report accordingly. So I will ask other questions after the Deputy Minister. I have other questions to SALGA and CoGTA. Thank you.
So, Honorable Douglas.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the opportunity. My questions are going to be short. In terms of how does the 61.6 billion allocation for basic infrastructure actually address the 122 billion rand need identified by SALGA, and what is being done to close this funding gap without resorting to harmful PPPs? SALGA has an important role to play within our community, but it needs to be structured. They need to be working harder, and they need to be held accountable to make sure that, whatever funding they have is spent correctly. But This shortfall for infrastructure development goes down to the poorest of the poor. It shows that this is, again, an anti-poor budget. How will the state ensure poor and rural municipalities benefit from PPP reforms if bankability criteria, red tape, and lack of creditworthiness continue to exclude them? And will Treasury commit to, or the government commit to revising the equitable share formula to reflect Census 2022 data, incorporate developmental poverty indicators, and address the historical exclusion of Khoi and San First Nations communities, informal settlements, and peri-urban poverty? There's a huge exclusion of many of the communities that are just looked over and left behind, and the Khoi and San are one of those people that are not anywhere in the budget. Nowhere in the budget does it speak to the Aboriginal, Khoi and San First Nation rights within this country, and that means that we are the most oppressed First Nation people in the world. So when it comes to our equitable share, according to the United Nations Declaration on Rights of Indigenous People, which we signed as a government in 2007, we are supposed to get an equitable share as the Khoi and San, as Indigenous people. We're supposed to have, the government's supposed to put money aside for self-governance, for finances, for education, for healthcare, for safety and security, for housing for our people. This should be something that goes through SALGA, but there's nothing in the government's policy. There's nothing. For 30 years. We have been left behind as the Khoi and San people, and as local indigenous African tribes, and the Khosis and the kings and the queens and the chiefs have been left behind in the structures of SALGA. Why are we not being capacitated to actually do our mandate and to help our people, Mr. Chair? So I want to know, why South Africa not adopted alternative macroeconomic models as SALGA recommended from BRICS countries such as China and Brazil that have successfully combined state-led development with grassroots economic exclusion. So we want to see a grassroots economic exclusion. We want to see funding not come from the World Bank and IMF, where they're demanding austerity measures and over R1 billion a day in debt servicing costs. No, that has got to stop. We must look at a model that works for us and is not anti-poor, but is pro for the people on the ground, Mr. Chair. So I'm going to leave it there because I have many other questions, but I'll just leave it with those few for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Minister, if I can beg your indulgence, I know you had raised an apology, but if I can ask you to respond to the questions that were directed to you, and then we'll finish the rest of the engagements. Over to you, Deputy Minister.
Well, thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson, and good morning to members of the committee once more. I will try to answer some questions, those that I might have not commented on, most probably the Director General and his team, because a lot of matters we do discuss them at the level of the leadership of the department. They'll be able to fill in the missing gaps by the time I disconnect. Let me start with the questions which Honorable Tatlas has just raised, particularly with regard to a very serious matter of the Khoi and the San community in the country. We, up to a point where we are as the ministry and the department, mindful of the journey the Khoi and the San community traveled since 1652 with the rest of other, dispossessed nations of the country. And from 1994 to date, government, since President Nelson Mandela, worked very hard to put systems in place and mechanisms of engagement, of leadership, of the Khoi and the San to be able to have continuous discussions and close indications to government on how best issues of the Khoi and the San community can best be addressed in the country. 30 years down the line, we have been able in the past few weeks, Honorable Chair, as part of taking this process forward, we have convened a national convention on the Khoi and the San, a meeting that made very serious observations, but above them all, took very appropriate decisions on how do we, working together with the leadership of the Khoi and the San all over the country, can be able to take this particular process forward. I think we're at the point where if we can be able to give that process a much more closer attention through appropriate discussions, interministerial committees, including as well parliamentary processes. We're going to be sifting a lot of discussions and process them to a point of implementation, which will most probably take a varied approaches on how do we deal with this matter. So I just wanted to very briefly, without singling out some of those decisions, so that the committee can also be interested on the discussion that took place at that level of leadership with the leaders of the co-NDSN. I think it's a matter that is not necessarily off the radar of government. That is the first point I wanted to comment on. The second point, which was raised by Honorable Kalega Mazibuko, particularly with regard to matters of ESCOM and as well as consequence management and reporting of municipalities in terms of their performance. I think honorable members would agree with me that reporting performance and also the extent to which the system of local government can be made perfect and its efficacy being closely looked at. It's a function of leadership, both at an administrative level, but also politically at the level of municipalities, supported by both national departments and as well as provincial departments. If a municipality is unable to produce reports on its performance, if a municipality cannot account to a certain extent about its own internal matters, it's the function of the leadership of that municipality, politically and administratively. We, at our level, like someone indicated, that we seem to be having a big brother or a big sister approach in dealing with matters of local government. Our responsibility working together with SALGA as a major stakeholder, as an association, is to continue to build the necessary capacity for leadership of our municipalities to appreciate the constitutional mandate and other related legislative mandate and responsibilities that are bestowed upon them, and therefore the need for them to lead, to manage, to deliver services, and look after the interests of their communities by also bringing closer a broad coalition of local interests from their own localities becomes a primary function of leadership, and therefore accountability remains a key principle on their part. So these are matters which we continue to infuse and build that capacity, because at our level, if a municipality does not produce a report, there is no legal instrument that says you can fire a mayor, that you can do anything to a senior official if it's a collective weakness of both political and as well as administrative responsibility. And we move from a basis, Honorable Chairperson, that local government is very complex and intricate, both in terms of character and content. There are many role players at play, and that is the reason why it requires a much more concerted and a broad approach, politically, administratively, and of course, in terms of how do we position the system going forward. But it's a point of concern that we must be able to continue to look at, so that the performance, including in particular accountability and reporting on their part, is actually taken care of. Issues relating to municipal debts in terms of consumers, but also the debts which municipalities are owing to both ESCOM and the water boards. It's a very serious matter, which of course is as a consequence of many factors related to that, not only limited to just a culture of non-payment by citizens throughout the country. In some municipalities, because of the socio-economic status of our people and the extent to which unemployment has now become a big issue, you do have instances where there are people who could pay in the past, but at the moment they are troubled because of the economic hardships that they are going through, and therefore the debts, abounds from time to time, and it has actually led to billions and billions of rands. There is a mechanism between Treasury ourselves and as well as municipalities on how do we manage these debt relief mechanisms between the municipalities and as well as ESCOM, including the water boards. So I think we should be able to give that process an opportunity and time going forward and see the extent to which, where we are actually rolling out that mechanism, we can be in a better position to begin to learn good lessons, replicate them elsewhere, so that in a very focused, consistent way going forward, we can be able to deal with this matter. It's a much more broader matter because you also do have government departments which are owing municipalities billions and billions of rands, not only consumers. If those monies were to be paid by government departments, understandably, these municipalities will, without any difficulty, also transfer those monies to settle the debts that they have with either ESCOM or the water board. So it's a very, challenging scenario or a situation that requires that systemic attention as we move forward into the future. I wouldn't, of course, comment on the point which was raised all about weak departments or strong departments in provinces. I think that remains the function of the oversight committees at your level, Honorable Chairperson, including provincial oversight bodies, to the extent that they can be able to account whether provincial departments in their entirety as provincial governments, they are performing or they are not performing. And most probably, this standing committee in particular as well is well occasioned and placed to look at some of those areas of performance through closer oversight on how those provincial departments in many areas are basically performing. So safe to say, ourselves, together with provinces, in terms of Section 154 of the Constitution, we have a responsibility to support and intervene in municipalities where a need arises out of either poor performance, underperformance, or out of the reports that we continue to generate out of the performance of our municipalities. And therefore, we are well placed to continue to play that oversight and supportive responsibility. I fully agree that we really do not have a big brother or a sister approach on matters of local government. Like I said, it's a very complex sphere of government. The interdependence character and nature of our relationship is what informs us on how do we continue to basically give that support and so on and so on. There was a question which also was raised by, I think, I tried to look at I think the question relates to the unfunded mandates. What exactly is happening in this area where provinces seem to be giving municipalities many functions? I thought probably if we can be, assisted to get those specific areas of concerns, so that, and particular provinces which are actually affected by this phenomenon, so that when we interact with our colleagues, MECs of CoGTA in those provinces, we can be able to raise specific concerns and questions out of which probable responses will be made available. But broadly and understandably, citizens, wherever they are not interested whether there is a municipal or a provincial function. What they want to see is government in its cooperative character, approach and intervention, providing services and relief to their own people. As to how those services come, becomes a matter of government through its cooperative character and nature. And therefore, if there are constraints in some instances where municipalities are said to be overstretched by performing some provincial functions, I think, like I said, we may want those specific areas of concern so that we can take it up with our colleagues, MECs in our MINMEC meetings, but also in our continuous bilateral meetings, politically and administratively, as the leadership of the sector. I fully concur with the point on the use of consultants. That is a major concern. The AG has raised this issue. I also fully take note of that point because it is expected of our municipalities in terms of Section 153 of the Constitution to structure their internal affairs administratively, to be able to perform their functions and therefore deliver services by planning, better budgeting, and so on and so on. So the use of consultants in the sector, of course, is a matter that is receiving our attention continuously to make sure that it does not become a permanent feature of the financial management and administration of the system. There was a point also relating to the invocation of Section 139 in areas of underperformance, with a qualification that in most instances it is used for wrong purposes to manage whatever political or administrative constraints or relations that could be there in provinces. We are basically out of the report which Dr. Naidu has just presented. What will be taken through Parliament, an intergovernmental municipal supported interventions bill, which aims to, provide proper regulations on how and when and under which circumstances provinces could therefore then, apply Section 139, so that it does not just become a blanket endeavor at any given time or an instrument at any given time. So it should put a framework, the conditionalities on how do we invoke that particular section at the time of need. So in this report, out of that list of proposed bills to be taken through Parliament, we do have that legal document that we're going to be putting through as a bill of Parliament to basically manage these matters as we move into the future. So I think we are alive to that reality. We are up to our commitment to respond to that matter. There was also a concern, Chairperson, which was raised about the fiscal framework and why are we interested in extra funding, the modeling, and so on and so on, when the system is not doing very well, and so on and so on. Is it about money or is it about the systems being corrected? I think probably we need to be a very unemotional when we look at these matters of systems and the local government framework in terms of the history that we have traveled to date. If you are to play or pay a much closer attention to the 1998 white paper on local government, of course, some of us were there at that time when the white paper was developed. I was in the National Executive Committee of SALGA. I was part of the ministerial processes. The only reality that has come to our realization now is that at that point, we had just emerged out of the past history that we all so much familiar with. And a few years down the line, we had to put systems in place of municipal administration, integrating former town institutions and establish new institutions elsewhere in the country that never existed. It was not a process that would be without policy limitations and policy constraints as we move forward. The understanding was there for that. The 1998 white paper was a policy-based document that will help us to move into the future. And 30 years into the horizon of this policy, the assumptions that were made at that time, as we mature, as we evolve the system, we have come to a realization that certain assumptions which were made then cannot stand the test of time for the coming 30, 40 years policy horizon of this particular sphere of government. And therefore, a need for review becomes important. So we should be able to separate between systemic and structural inherent matters, which some of them are as a result of these policy assumptions, which should be corrected. Just to give a simple example, the point was about districts and local municipalities. Inherent in that, there are structural and systemic issues. But the assumption which was made in 1998 was that in rural areas where you are to put new institutions, the districts might have capacity to deliver services on behalf of the locals. Those were basic policy assumptions. The reality now, I think they point to different experiences, and therefore funding as well is one amongst those many issues that are emerging out of that policy basis, which require our continuous attention. And hence, the president said it is the high time that we must review the policy on the funding model of local government to ensure the principle of accountability on the nationally collected revenue, because at the moment, we are all spheres of government, but municipalities are not in the equation in terms of the equitability principle as it is expected in terms of the financial allocations of the nationally collected revenue. So on the basis of that 30 years, empirical evidence points otherwise, and therefore a need would be for members of the portfolio of the standing committee, and other leaders of our government, including party political organizations and civil society and society in general, they will have to be interested on how do we interface with these proposed policy reforms on local government and the extent to which they can be able to respond to concerns at the policy level, and therefore in the immediate ourselves, we must pay attention to the internal administrative, systemic administrative, political matters which probably impacts negatively on the ability of our municipalities to perform their functions. But broadly at the policy level, I think that's what I can indicate very briefly, Chair, just to say that municipalities, we fully do know the categorization of our municipalities all over the country. 257 of them were very much familiar about their status and conditions. The extent to which some of them are troubled, and the reports which the AG has been able to produce, and the state of local government reports that have been produced also indicate to the point that this is the status of each and every single municipality in the country. Safe to say, out of the whole totality of our municipalities, the reports points to 35 of our municipalities which are seriously challenged, and the 10 of them is what Dr. Naidu has referred to as being worst category of our municipalities. And that's where you will find non-submission of annual financial statements, non-reporting reports, and many other negativities that arises. They are found in basically those 10 totally challenged municipalities in our country. And we do have a specific focused attention through the municipal turnaround strategy, working together with provinces to see to it that we impact those local spaces administratively so that they can be able to graduate out of that and be like the rest of the other municipalities in the country. So safe to say, in principle, Chair, that categorization of dysfunctionality, distressed municipalities in the country, in the sector, we're very much familiar, and we do have a targeted intervention mechanism. So far as the ministry and the department, we have interacted with almost more than 50, for I were to be specific, I could say 53, 54 individual municipalities to take them through hard full day or 2 days accountability sessions for them to tell us exactly how do they think they are performing and why are they not doing certain things, so that in those areas, and that's where we are also able to pick up the fact that consequence management is really inadequate at the level of municipalities, because we are also able to pick up in those sessions of accountability that these matters are not well processed, and therefore it's an area of management, of leadership, of administration that has got to be infused in the system as part and parcel of sharpening the instruments or the whole accountability ecosystem within the sector. I think broadly, Chair, those are the few points that I can comment on before I disconnect. I would have really loved to be in this meeting and get counseling from members of the standing committee, from your observations, your determinations, and what you would want us to see doing as we endeavor to want to reposition this system of government and municipal entities in particular throughout the country. There are quite a number of matters, for instance, that we are working with the presidency. We are in eThekwini. We have just been in Johannesburg. We're putting together systems through the presidential working group. Those matters at the center of their day-to-day management. CoGTA remains a principal department to coordinate interministerial committees. So these are some of the mechanisms and efforts and suggestions on how do we want to impact both our metropolitan municipalities. What do we intend to reposition our secondary cities, not only that, but also including your smaller town-based and also rural municipalities in the country, so that resources that flows into their coffers, they can be accounted for. Monies that they do get, we normally tell them in our meetings that more than 100 billion rands that they receive, either through MIG, through equitable share and varied infrastructure grants, those matters, it remains our responsibility as CoGTA to follow each and every rand and cents how municipalities. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson, for your
Thank you, Deputy.
for me to make those broad comments. Thank you so much.
I'm going to, before you depart, I want to make an urgent request, and perhaps we will get both you and the Minister because naturally issues of local government are, I think, as a sphere of government, are not sufficiently ventilated. There are some profound questions, and you've touched on some of them, whether it's the review on the white paper, whether it's the accounting of municipalities, broadly speaking, whether it's the ESCOM debt, as we've touched on. But also there's a question around Stats SA, and I noted that SALGA raised some questions even about the integrity of the data that they are being reliant on. I think that the biggest fiscal risk South Africa potentially faces is a dysfunctioning of municipalities, because effectively projects don't take place nationally, they take place at a particular address in a particular town and a particular municipal. And certainly, unless we begin to attend to the question more substantively, I think we put South Africa and South Africans in profound risk. So I'm going to formally request that we have an exclusive session with cooperative governance and traditional affairs, because also in terms of in some of the rural municipalities, accounting of traditional leaders on some of the funding that is allocated. I'm not here to debate philosophically what the framework of governance ought to be, but I'm here to debate perhaps maybe principally the question of accountability as a discussion point. And furthermore, we've had a benchmarking exercise done on comparisons between 3-tiered countries and 2-tiered countries. And we're a 3-tiered country in essence, and whether those layers are far more effective from bang for buck point of view or not. So I think there's a conversation that needs to be had, and I would welcome an opportunity, DM, with the minister, with CoGTA, to come and have a much broader engagement on this issue. We wanted today, obviously and naturally, narrow down on the division of revenue bill and make our submissions consistently. But I do think especially heading towards the medium-term budget policy framework, we'll need to think hard about this, considering multiple other inputs, notwithstanding the Kgalema Motlanthe high-level panel report and many other reports in this regard. So if I could, I will position that for you, Deputy Minister, and then we'll take it from there, if that's okay. Let me revert back to Honorable Mkhonto, if you conclude your questions, and then we move quite quickly to Honorable Gallagher Mazibuko. She had a few extra ones, and then we can allow the department to make its own responses. Honorable Mkhonto.
Thanks, Chair. Though the Deputy Minister has already answered some of the questions that I have in advance, but I have 2 questions left. I want to know, Chair, from SALGA, that whilst implementing this bill, can we rely on the indigent lists of municipalities according to their knowledge? Municipalities have capacity to develop reliable indigent lists, as you have said, Chair, that they also presented that the census, the Stats SA statistics are not reliable. And then the last one, Chair, is this also to say that departments are owing municipalities. What is the clear plan to ensure that departments do pay municipalities what they owe to municipalities? Because it has been a long time that we have been complaining about this. It's as if we're talking about departments that we don't have power over. But I think we have to come up with a clear plan for departments to account to what they are doing to municipalities. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Mkhonto. Honorable Gallagher Mazibuko, have you got additional questions?
Yeah, Chair, I think I need a particular response in relation to the review of the white paper. It has taken so long. It has taken so long. So really, because the white paper on local government, despite the glaring fiscal constraints and growing demands for better services at local government level, I think it is unfair for the municipalities to operate on their old policies, during this time. So I want to know, why is it taking so long? And what is it? And I know that SALGA has been advocating for this review to be expedited, but it doesn't seem, because the anticipation now is that it will only be completed in 2026, and we are not even sure that it will be completed in 2026. What is it? Why is it taking so long? And what is it that CoGTA can do to make sure that this process is expedited? And in relation to the financial distress chairperson, I want to know from CoGTA, how do municipalities in financial distress honor their service delivery obligations? We see the state of the municipalities on the ground, but how do then they honor under these circumstances? And also, in these municipalities that are financially distressed, senior managers and staff still receive bonuses, despite these financial constraints, and over and above prioritizing service delivery. Are they still receiving bonuses? That is my question. Because, Chair, we can't keep on doing the same thing over and over and expect different results. There has to be consequences, as I said. If the municipality is under financial distress, then people should also feel the pinch. Everybody should feel it. So I just want to know if they are still receiving the bonuses. Chair, I think because of time, let me end there. Some of the questions the Deputy Minister did respond. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Kalaga Mazilibuko. Is there any other member who wants to ask an additional question outside of the initial time, or can I then end it over to SALGA? Honorable Skete, may I ask that we keep it brief? We're already at 10 o'clock and I want to give the department time. I don't want them to feel they can't answer. So if we can I give you, just impose upon you to be brief and prompt, Dada? Tengos. Honorable member, Honorable Skete.
Thank you, Chair, for the opportunity. I'll be brief, Chair. Chair, I just want to ask one question to the department. According to National Treasury State quarter report, expenditure, Chair, the department exceeded in employing 7 posts. And it's about 1.6 million extra which they spend. So I just want to ask Chair whether the department should finish the committee with the reasons for exceeding its personnel beyond the budget personnel. And secondly, the department should also explain how it will manage this expenditure on personnel to prevent unauthorized expenditure by the end of this financial year. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I will then hand over to the department. There are many questions I would have wanted to ask, but in the interest of time, will suppress. Suffice to say that I haven't heard any recommendations from a fiscal point of view. Perhaps maybe SALGA can give me a sense, because the last input you'd made is that the white paper assumes a 60-90 split, and in all reality, that white paper isn't going to be finalized within this financial year. So where are the fiscal gaps that you would expect for us to make recommendations on? And perhaps that speaks to both the department and to SALGA itself. in terms of how we can proceed, and naturally in the use of the Money Bills Act and the urgency of the moment before the 24th. I would truly appreciate some guidance on that regard, because that is the impact we can have, or at least the law prescribes we can have on the Division of Revenue Bill. But let me allow for the firstly SALGA and then the department. Dr. Masemula, can we mute the Deputy Minister, or if you keep the Deputy Minister on the call, we can tune into the NEC also. Moving right along, let me allow the department to respond.
Thank you very much. I thought it's
sorry.
coming first. Please go ahead, Ms. Pasha.
Thank you, DG. I thought maybe I was a bit confused. Let me first start with the programs question. We have 5 programs in SALGA. The first one is it's focusing on advocacy and strategic profiling, where we focus on participating and ensuring that SALGA's position is elevated in the IGR forums, such as this parliamentary committee engagements, and also in terms of the policy development. Whenever new reforms are coming in, we provide inputs, guidance, and position in terms of the policy decisions that currently, which is the white paper, which we are part of. We also do marketing and communication. We know that within municipalities, they don't necessarily have budget for marketing and communication. In yesterday's meeting, they were raising the issue of indigents not knowing about the indigent programs in municipalities, and these are some of the marketing and branding that we do, the incentive schemes on behalf of municipality or any other communication needs within municipalities that they may have, and we do assist in terms of those. We've got a sub-program on multi-sectoral support. That multi-sectoral support is a combination of various support programs, municipal finance, which I'm leading, where we I think I've highlighted that we're focusing on municipal audits for financial sustainability and viability, project municipal infrastructure finance, and also policy and revenue enhancement. We also have support in terms of trading services, socio-economic development, and spatial transformation, which I think in my presentation I did highlight. Municipal governance, which I think the committee has raised sharply in terms of the dysfunctional municipalities, where we try to, I think even through our coalition framework, try and guide municipalities to adopt or customize the framework. And I think DCOC is also making policy surrounding policy reforms in terms of the coalition issues, Chair, and I've raised the issue of the digital maturity, and we also do a disaster and sustainability program, where we've assisted quite a number of municipalities in terms of disaster management and mitigation, and also climate change and climate resilience reforms that needs to take place within municipalities. We've got program 3 that looks into capabilities and employment relations, where we assist municipalities with their employment relations. As we know, we are we lead in terms of the what you call this thing, the where we salaries and wages of municipalities. We lead within that department, and I think where we have really made reforms in the negotiation of the bargaining council. So we put within the agreement within this year that municipalities that are in financial distress should be exempted from implementing the wage agreement, so that it protects those municipalities to further go into financial challenges. We do have an induction program, which is not just at the beginning of the inception of councillors, but it's throughout the period, the 5-year period, where we induct councillors on various programs, such as MPEG committees, and also human capital development, where we advise municipalities, honorable members, on we get invited, although we don't vote in the interviews, but we guide municipalities where they are making wrong decisions in terms of appointments, particularly of senior managers within municipalities. And we also have a program 4, which is business development and product development, where we design programs and products and tools. And some of the tools I think I highlighted in terms of the indigent verification tool, which I will answer the question regarding the indigent questions, and also a broadband as a 5-year, a 5th utility within municipalities. The 5th program is just mainly corporate, honorable members, where our strategic operations, human capital, finance, and ICT resides. And maybe just to highlight in terms of the programs and the impact, that we've got 2 sets of rolling out of support. We've got general support, where it is a mass approach support. There, I must indicate, we have not done an analysis, because we have not, it is very difficult to track in terms of the performance after the attendees have attended the training and that we offer. However, on the hands-on support, this is where we pre-select specific municipalities, and unfortunately, due to the financial constraints and the human capital constraint, we are unable to reach majority of the municipality. I'll give a practical example with the municipal audit support. Although we are gradually increasing it, and this is why we are saying, as government, we need to integrate our support programs so that there is much reach. In that program last year, we supported 9 municipalities with hands-on support, meaning pre-audit, in-audit, post-audit, and other skills transfer within those municipalities, so that those municipalities are able to sustain, to continue to be able to manage audit on their own in future years. In that program, 5 municipalities improved, and there was a 46% reduction of material findings in those municipalities. So that is the kind of impact. In terms of the risk management and audit support, where we have found municipalities such as Mfuleni that did not have a risk register and an audit plan, where we came in and assisted in terms of municipalities, and many other municipalities, Sanders Valley, and many others, we can also provide ways. So in the hands-on support, we are able to see the impact. However, in terms of the reach, we are aware that we are not reaching a significant number of municipalities, and this is why we are saying we can align, and we are now starting to align between ourselves, SALGA, National Treasury, and DCOC in some of these programs, so that we are able to make a much more broader impact. In terms of the AG reports, I think I've already highlighted. This year we have adopted 9 more, so we are supporting 18 municipalities, and with the preliminary reports that we have received, although on the findings. We are still gathering our reports in terms of the reduction thereof. There has been 7 municipalities that had improved in terms of the audit outcome for the pre-selected municipalities that we have, but we are still waiting. We're still gathering evidence in terms of what was the reductions in the findings, because, honorable members, the target is to ensure that municipalities reduce the finding, and that will reduce material findings, which has an impact on turning around the issues. We are looking into municipalities, particularly in the unqualified bracket, because we've seen that majority of them have been sitting in that, have been stagnated in that area for such in that bracket for a long time. We have adopted a best practice approach where municipalities within districts that receive clean audits are able to share best practices in terms of addressing these issues from a peer learning perspective. And I think that is something that we will be rolling out this year. It was kickstarted by our best practice conference that we had earlier this year. In terms of the debt relief, what is SALGA doing? As we have said, we've helped 69 municipalities. 72 are currently underway. In terms of cost of supply, 20 will be supporting this financial year. We still have financial finding constraints in terms of the 50 that are remaining, because we want to make sure that by this year's application, because AfriForum, although the court case is at the Supreme Court of Appeal, we want municipalities to would have complied with this within this financial year. So that is one of the funding requests that we are making, on Honorable Chair, in terms of funding of 50 remaining municipalities with the cost of supply. This issue was raised yesterday, that systematic and structural challenges are the ones that are impacting on municipalities' ability to pay their creditors and cost of supply. And that's why we see that there is a variance between ESCOM tariffs and increases that are approved by NERSA and municipal tariffs. As we have said, that ESCOM tariffs are using time of use and municipalities are providing their tariffs at a flat rate. So we are trying to help municipalities and those that are able to, after doing the cost of supply, move towards the time of use, which I think the metros do have those types of tariffs, so that we can bridge that gap, Chair. We have also initiated a Section 78 assessment for municipalities that are really struggling with providing basic services, to really do a honest assessment in terms of various aspects: infrastructure investment, capacity, financial performance, and are able, after those assessments, they'll be empowered with information so that they can make the right decision, that if they're in a position to know that they are able to provide that service, they are empowered to make the decisions themselves, to say, can we bring someone else to do to provide the service on behalf of the municipality, not with a hostile takeover, Honorable Chair. The other program that we are doing is consumer education. As we know, that we have a culture of non-payment, where we are helping municipalities to explain and really become transparent in terms of how the money is being spent in municipality, and the importance of consumers paying for services, and the replica effect of municipality consumers not paying for services. So that is the one that we have partnered with South African Revenue Protection Association. This is one of the inefficiencies that have been identified, that municipalities are incurring high distribution losses, both technical and non-technical. And we've seen that municipalities can say that we are incurring 30% losses, but they don't know exactly where the key areas are coming from, and we are hoping that through this intervention we will do a gap analysis to help municipality identify the root causes of that the distribution losses, so that fit for purpose solutions can be provided, because most municipalities were unable to tell us whether it's theft, whether it's billing, whether it's infrastructure decay. So we are hoping that through this we will be able to assist municipalities with getting the revenue that they've been losing on those areas. In terms of the unfunded mandates, Chair, our study showed that we are incurring. Okay, maybe let me start with the local government fiscal framework, and I think that the Deputy Minister really went into details, so I'm not going to go. But in terms of what is needed now from the committee, the study said we need 58 billion in terms of the from the fiscus. However, collaboratively, there are inefficiencies that needs to be dealt with. And one of them is bloated overheads, which CoGTA is working on a program that will assist municipalities with helping them to know what is the fit for purpose organogram and align it to that, so that they can see maybe positions that are really not getting towards achieving basic service delivery, and I think maybe then municipalities would be able to be informed to make decisions in terms of how to deal with those aspects. And the other inefficiency was the non-revenue water and electricity, which we did ask DWS, and I know through the water partnership program, they are only supporting metros, and we've been emphasizing that with that we want it to be expanded so that it can deal with this non-revenue issues. I know that they did indicate that if there is no repairs and maintenance, sufficient allocation of budgets towards repairs and maintenance, it will not yield the desired results. So some of these issues, Chairperson, they are so integrated, like DM was saying, that it's so complex and issues are interrelated. As you solve one, it touches on another one. So it needs a holistic approach in terms of those issues. The unfunded mandates is a problem, and we did identify it in our study in terms of what was the gap thereof. I'll just quickly check the amount in terms of that, what is being incurred by the municipalities. In terms of infrastructure gap, Chair, there is a three-pronged approach. Municipalities will, at this rate, still continue to rely on grants for infrastructure investment. However, through efficiency programs that helps municipalities to become efficient in terms of expenditures and also push themselves in terms of maximizing revenue, We are hoping that municipalities will now build margins, that they can start building reserves from that aspect, and from those the reserves, they'll be able to start funding some of the internally funded projects. The third part is getting municipalities to be investment ready, so that they can be able to go into the market to look for financing for infrastructure. And this is what I think I highlighted in terms of the LED programs, and also the project preparation and project assessment readiness, project readiness assessment, where we believe that the gap, that's how the infrastructure gap can be bridged, Chair.
Pasha, can I ask that you begin to wrap up your responses, because
sorry,
I don't want us to. You are running out of quorum. Other members also have other meetings, as I did allude earlier. So may I ask that we be brief, because I've also got CoGTA to also respond, and the meeting is already running above time.
Okay, so yeah, let me just quickly wrap up. In terms of the collection of debts to government, I just actually learned yesterday from the committee that there is no constitutional or legislative prescripts that empowers National Treasury to do what it has done with municipalities in line with Section 216 of the Constitution and 38, where they can withhold grants, equitable share. So we will be making a submission so that there is those prescripts that allows that empowers National Treasury to do the same, because this is a mechanism that is being used to enforce municipalities to meet their obligations. Honorable Chair, I think I can leave it there, because some of the capacity issues and they've already dealt with, I think. Thank you.
Thank you. May I request CoGTA to respond?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I must say that I'm not going to emulate my colleague. I'll try to be as brief as possible. I know you're running out of time. Let me start with the broader comments. I think we will not do justice to the white paper process, the municipal debt relief program, and the review of municipal trading services. These are some of the reforms that are taking place right now as we speak. And I would request that you call us back to deal with those items, because the white paper process is moving, and it's moving at full steam. And I want to assure honorable members that we will conclude that process. We started it in cabinet, we'll end it in cabinet. It's also a strategic target in the MTDP. So I think we need to come back to you and present to you fully the timelines. When do we want to conclude on that process? Who are the project managers, the project team behind it, and the stakeholders who are overseeing this, the project governance structure? So we need to come back and present to you. The same applies to the municipal debt relief program. I really think that this is a program that was meant to incentivize municipalities to perform better in terms of servicing the debt. Yes, the DM covered at this point that municipalities have to be paid in order to pay, because the debt that is owed to municipalities is bigger than the debt that is owed by municipalities. So if we were to settle the debt owed to municipalities, they will be in a better position to honor their obligations. But the municipal debt relief program is a very flexible program, because it simply says if you honor your current account, we can settle a portion of your historical debt. So we've been monitoring municipalities, how they are performing on the municipal debt relief program. And that too, I think we need to come back to you and present a full program and how we've been dealing with the defaulters on that program. The trading services reforms, again, it's a program that is managed, led by National Treasury. SALGA and ourselves are participating in that program. We also have the IMC, I think the DM touched on it, on municipal performance and turnaround strategy. So these 4 big reforms are reforms that we may want to come and present to you because they deal with some of the issues around the non-submission of financial statements. I think DM did touch on this, that in the 10 worst performing municipalities that we've captured in our presentation, you have municipalities that have not submitted financial statements in the past. You have, in fact, 3 of them, but they have now since submitted their financial statements. We can give you the list if you want that list. Let me get into the specifics, Chair, because I thought the session is about DORA. We need to make comments on DORA. We are of the view that we need to review the clauses or the sections in the DORA 17, 18, 19, and 20. I think they need to be structured differently. As CoGTA, we are not happy with how those clauses are structured or the sections are structured in the DORA, and we will sponsor what we think should go into 17, section 17, section 18, section 19, and section 20. We should do away with discretions. The IGR processes must prevail. If we're going to make changes on any sphere of government, we need to follow the IGR processes. The system of government was founded on the cooperative governance, that you can't simply wake up and make a decision for other spheres of government. I only experienced this here in this department of CoGTA. In other departments where I worked, we always go through IGR processes when we make decisions, especially on section 18 and 19, because section 18 gives the transferring officers powers to engage municipalities, to engage provinces, and then make decisions after consulting the executive authorities on what needs to happen. But what I've picked up is that people wake up and just make decisions on what should be adjusted in the municipal budget. That should be done away with. So we will submit to you, and we'll submit to National Treasury what we think should be in the Division of Revenue Act, especially clauses 17, 18, 19, and 20. Chair, because of time, I will stop here, but I would urge you that you call us back so that we can deal with all of those substantive issues around policy reform. Thank you very much.
Honorable DG, may I request, if it's possible, just in that response in terms of the more specifics on the clauses, I was trying my best to capture some of the notes, that when you reflect on the Division of Revenue Bill you'd like to make submissions on, if I could ask the department just to prep a short note and make a submission in that regard, and if they could furnish the committee with it either on Tuesday or Wednesday, simply because public hearings commence on Tuesday or on Tuesday and conclude on the same, and then we begin to work on the report. And I'd really be, given the importance of local government, want to make those inputs and submissions. And then we'll also, as I did request the Deputy Minister, that we need to have a much fuller engagement with both, I think, SALGA as it pertains to metros, but the cooperative governance as it pertains to some of the issues that have been raised more specifically, even around the white paper on local government. Could that be agreeable too as a resolution coming from this meeting?
Chairperson, that's very fair. We will submit it to you before Tuesday. Thank you very much.
Much appreciated. Honorable members, in the light of that, it is now 10:30. I know certain members have had to go to the finance meeting. The arrangements as they pertain to the public hearings on Tuesday would all have been sent to members. We will convene in Polokwane on Monday night, and I would like for the committee to have dinner together there. So if members, in making your arrangements, if you could try and get there for dinner, because there's a number of things that we need to discuss just in committee or on that, and then be ready for the public hearings on Tuesday. If that is agreeable to members, I would really appreciate that. In the light of that, noting there are no other further inputs, I want to thank both CoGTA and South African Local Government Association for your comprehensive inputs today, and thank you so much. We will then retro furnish. If you look at the report that the committee will obviously table, will be available for public record. We are hoping when it gets debated in Parliament, some of the inputs that are being brought forward here today will make some of the submissions that we take forward. Thank you very much, honorable members. With that, I would like to close the meeting and look forward to seeing you on Monday. Thank you. Meeting is now closed.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Chair.
Chair.
Recording stopped.
Thank you, Chair.